Germany are going home and Brazil got through in the dying moments against Japan. The round of 32 is well and truly here. Here's what we said yesterday about Brazil, and my score prediction for this one is, I was going to go 3-1, but I'm going to go 2-1 to Brazil. I think they'll get a late winner in this game. And the game went absolutely as we expected it to, even down to that late winner for the Brazilians. And on Paraguay, it was that opening game where they were 3-0 down at halftime. I think we can also, by looking at the results, assume they have reverted and got over that initial shock. Or maybe they've tweaked something. They've gone back to playing the way that we know they can from their qualifying results. So I think maybe a lot of people will be looking at that United States result and just think that Paraguay are going to get battered here. But if they can show the kind of form and resilience and stubbornness that they did in qualifying against decent opposition, so Paraguay, I think, will not get rolled over in this game. And they did show improvements and a return to that qualifying form where we know they can be a very well disciplined, hard to break down unit. But I don't think many expected the Germans to be going home. And as I record this, the Netherlands game is about to kick off. Many of you expected that one to go all the way to extra time, and I can see it happening, to be honest. Could be a tight and cagey game with Morocco's defence, as we mentioned on yesterday's video. Let's hope we can have some winning predictions for that game as well. And on to today's card, because it is a belter. 3 more fixtures as 6 teams will become 3. First, at 6 p.m, we have Ivory Coast against Norway. Yan Diomande, a rising star in football, about to complete a €100 million move to PSG. Coming up against Norway and one of the biggest stars in world football and probably the best striker on the planet, Erling Haaland. And then to France, who are playing Sweden. That is at 10 p.m. UK time. And we're talking about great strikers. Mbappé is certainly one of them. He's in fine form at this competition. And Sweden will need to improve defensively if they are to have any chance at getting through in this game. And the late game from Mexico as they host Ecuador. Can't see many goals in that one. And as always, we're going to dig through the metrics, the data, the stats, the insights, and make some predictions. And speaking of predictions, well done to this comment from yesterday's video. Absolutely fantastic stuff. You have won a month of OddAlerts Pro, and the same goes for this video and every single video that we are dropping in the FIFA World Cup. Just add your predictions in the comments on any of these games and you'll automatically be entered to win. So the Ivory Coast against Norway, Diomande against Haaland is how this one will be labelled. Both of these teams love to attack and are very, very fun to watch. There's no doubt about that. Erling Haaland will be back and fit and fresh, as will the rest of his teammates, because they rested 10 of their 11 players in the previous game. Haaland is looking to score his 60th goal for Norway in what will be his 53rd cap. Incredible stuff. Can he score in this one and take Norway into the next round? Now, if he scores in this game, Haaland, he will equal a record that was set in 1954 for scoring 2 or more goals in each of his first 3 World Cup appearances. That record was set by Hungary's Sandor Korsis. So we'll check out some data now, and we can see Ivory Coast only conceded to Germany. No shame there. Whilst Norway conceded in every game and plenty of goals in those games. At least 5 goals in every game that they've played. And we will be taking a look at the football form guide as well, because Norway's statistics are mental. So the football form guide, can it help us just like it did for that Brazil game? Fantastic winner in the Brazil-Japan game. Let's hope for some more today. We can see here straight away over 3.5 goals has landed in 8 of the last 10 for Norway. They've won 9 of the last 10, the only defeat to France, in which they rested most of their team. No team has scored more second half goals than Norway. We had BTTS in the second half, correct prediction, in their game against Senegal. And BTTS as well in 7 of the last 10. Will they concede in this game? And just looking here at shot on target conversion, they rank second, 57.97% of their shots on target end in a goal. And finally, over 2.5 goals or BTTS has landed in 9 of their last 10 games. So before we make our predictions, I am just going to show you the odds, which I do think are quite appealing if you do fancy Norway over evens to win this game. And I do just want to show you the player section as well, because we have a look at fouls here and we can see Kessie in the middle for the Ivory Coast. He is one of the hot picks in terms of player props for fouls. But for me, those two forwards there for Norway, Sorloth and Haaland, they are going at the defenders like crazy, pressing like crazy. Nusa as well, but he is a bit more disciplined. He's not really in here. But yeah, Haaland is supercharged and ready to go. And we had him for a foul in the France game, but of course, he did not start the game. So I am going to back it again in this one. So my selection for this one is as followed. Erling Haaland to commit a foul in this game. Both teams to score in this game. Both teams have fantastic quality at the top end of the pitch, but can be unlocked at the other end. And Norway to get one of those goals in the second half. I think this game could really open up in the second half, as teams must chase a winner. And my score prediction for this game is 3-1 to Norway. And let me know what you're on in the comments. Now on to the next game. Now then, on to France against Sweden. Can we see another upset? It is highly unlikely if we take a quick look at the price. 1.32 is the peak that you will get for France to progress after 90 minutes. But if we take a look at France and their goals conceded across recent periods, they are conceding in the majority of games. And of course, with Gyökeres and Isak up top, there is always that threat on the counter for Sweden. And France can make history here, as we see they've scored 3 or more goals in their last 4 World Cup games. No team has ever done that for 5 in a row. Can they do it against this Sweden team that have already conceded 5 against the Netherlands in the World Cup? And checking out the player data for the World Cup, we see that Mbappe is averaging 5.33 shots per game. An interesting statistic about Mbappe and Dembélé is that they have combined for 5 goals at World Cup competitions. That means, you know, the sort of Kane-Son assist statistic. That is the joint most by any duo on record since 1966. Can they combine again to set history together? And a word on the French manager Didier Deschamps. He missed the previous game because of the death of his mother. Sympathies to him, of course. He is back, and this is going to be his last World Cup. He has announced that he will step down after this tournament no matter what happens. So there is a bit of context there. And these players, I'm sure, more than ever, will be playing for their manager in this one. Now we're going to again lean on the football form guide. It is such a useful tool, really. We can see straight away in the last 10 games, every single one of those games has seen 2 or more goals. France have not conceded first in any of those games, nor have they failed to score. They've had more shots on target than their opponent in 10 of the 10 games. They've scored after 70 minutes in 6 of the 10 games. Will they get a second half goal in this one? And for Sweden, here is an interesting statistic. They rank first for catching their opponents offside. Now, we know about the pace on the break, on the transition for this French team. How many offsides will the French have in this one? A potentially good angle to go at. BTTS has also landed in 7 of the last 10 for Sweden. I do not doubt that Sweden can get at least 1 goal in this game, but can they realistically keep the French out? I am not so sure. So I've actually got a couple of selections for this game. Let me know what you think in the comments, of course. Every comment automatically entered into our draw to win OddAlerts Pro. Good luck if you are adding your predictions. And whilst you're down there, hit like and subscribe. The first is here. France to have over 1.5 offsides. We saw that Sweden topped the charts in terms of that offside trap. Clearly something Graham Potter is working on, and both teams to receive a card at 2.5. I thought that was a pretty good price for what looks like a relatively safe double. And my second selection here is BTTS. I was tempted to go for over 2.5 goals, but this can often happen. The odds are not that much of a jump, and of course you need another goal. I do think Gyökeres or Isak will get a moment in this game, and they are going to have to take their chance when it comes to them. And most goals to be scored in the second half. I talked about this on the previous video, and I'm actually putting this on as a single in every single game in the knockouts. Most goals to be scored in the second half, so we will see how that does at the end. It is just a bit of an experiment. But most goals to be scored in the second half, the odds are always evens or just above or just below, depending on the data, of course. But in the knockout games, those first 45 minutes can be very cagey. Usually the odd goal in the first half, but it's rare that a game completely opens up in the first 45 minutes. So BTTS and most goals in the second half at 3.4. What are you on for this game? Will Mbappe and Dembélé combine to get more goals, or can the Swedes cause another upset and knock out one of the other favourites in consecutive days? Germany have gone home. Are France going to be next? And my score prediction for this one is 2-1 to France. I'm going to go with a narrow victory. Good Swedish defensive performance, much improved. Mexico are hosting Ecuador in this round of 32 game, and I do have a question. Why are Mexico hosting again when Canada did not in their round of 32 games? Makes no difference to me. I'm just curious because it is a bit of an advantage for Mexico playing where they do. You can see here the consensus for the draw is just 2.91. That is my opinion in this game. I think a correct score of 0-0 could be quite likely given how Ecuador play. Mexico are a good team, but they're not the most open and they're not the sharpest tool in the shed, to use a phrase from yesterday's video when describing Ecuador. And having said that, Mexico did put 3 past Czech Republic, who are one of the big disappointments, no doubt about that, at this World Cup. They scored 2 against South Africa, who were down to 9 men. And they got 1 against South Korea. They will always be dangerous when playing at home, and they're not a bad team. I'm not saying that by any stretch. Now for Ecuador, of course, we know about their clean sheets. We're looking at goals conceded here, and in qualifying they were absolutely superb. So hard to beat because of that defence. They conceded late against the Ivory Coast, where they held out for long periods of the game. Then they drew with Curacao and they thought it was all over. Their players were in tears on the pitch at the end of the game because they didn't maybe believe that they could beat Germany, but they did. They beat Germany, a rotated Germany team, and they did concede in that game, but they scored twice, which I did not think was possible. In the competition so far, we're looking at the rankings tab in the fixture, link in the description if you want to check this out for free. All of this data is available for free on OddAlerts. We can see there's only 3 perfect teams, Argentina, Mexico and France. Mexico have won 3 out of 3. How they would love to make it 4 tonight. Now, if we look at the last 10 games on the goals scored charts, we can see that across all World Cup teams, Mexico are 22nd with 18 goals in the last 10 games, 1.8 per game. We have to keep scrolling to find Ecuador, who have scored just 9 in their last 10 games. Only Qatar have scored fewer goals than Ecuador. And if we look at goals against, goals conceded, both of these teams rise to the top. England have conceded 2 goals in their last 10 games, both of those coming against Croatia, of course. Ecuador have conceded just 3 and Mexico just 4. You can see up there as well, Spain, Argentina, very good defensively, Morocco as well. Now, I am going against the grain here, but I do rate the defense of Ecuador that highly. I really do. 2 South American teams here, and I know that Mexico are on home soil. That will be a big advantage for many of you in the comments, so let me know what you're on for this game, if you agree or disagree with my selection, which is Mexico to get over 1 card. Ecuador's opponents have been booked 23 times in the last 10 games. That's more than most World Cup teams. It puts them 2nd in the form guide rankings. And Ecuador to qualify, not to win the game, to qualify. This game could be a draw, it could go to penalties, as I believe it may. The consensus is that this game will have under 2.5 goals as well, but the odds are really short for that, so I did not want to include it in the selection. So 3.75. Can't wait to read your predictions in the comments. Let's take a look at tomorrow's games. So we will check out tomorrow's games, but first a quick look at the leaderboard for the FIFA World Cup prediction game on OddAlerts. Real world prizes, including a share of £1,000, will be awarded after the World Cup if you are in the top 10 here. And Vin Z, well done to you. You have a 5-point gap. Let's see what got you there. Well, you had the Netherlands to win, no points there. You had Germany to win, no points there. Majority did have those two results as well, so no shame there. You called the Brazil game and you got a late winner there, and you called the Canada game as well. So you've just been pretty steady, but it is that 14-point haul, over 0.5 goals, no, correctly predicted in Colombia, Portugal. What a prediction, and that still has them top. Will they be top after these games? And tomorrow we see England in action once more. England against Congo, heavy favourites, 1.32 as we can see there. Belgium against Senegal, they got through in the end, and now they've got a very tricky opponent, I believe, in Senegal. I backed Senegal to go through in my round of 32 full predictions video, which you can watch on the channel. And then we have the United States against Bosnia and Herzegovina, another potentially tricky, edgy, tight game for the USA. So don't forget to add your predictions in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.